Okay, so Chapter 3 covers a lot about perpendicular lines and parallel lines. We learned some very important angle pairs dealing with parallel lines, and also we bring in some algebra towards the end with writing some lines. But first we'll start with section 3.1, talking about lines and these special angles. A very important section. Okay, so let's begin with a definition of parallel lines. All right, so we'll start with parallel lines. And I think we all know that the word parallel means they do not intersect. However, we need to add this word called coplanar. So parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. So this word coplanar is interesting. Why do we add it? Well, we're going to talk about another pair of lines here in a second. We're going to talk about lines called skew lines. Now, we don't necessarily talk about skew lines a lot in this class, but it's good to know. Skew lines. Skew lines are non-coplanar points that do not intersect. Non-coplanar points. That do not intersect. And again, we have this idea of being non-coplanar. So you're like, what's the big deal? Who cares? Well, let's draw a picture. Okay, let's draw a picture. Okay, so here's my picture. We're going to draw a plane down here. Remember, a plane is just a parallelogram. Okay, so there's my plane. Let's call it plane P here in the corner. And then we need to draw two lines. Let's draw one line going up from the plane. No, not like that. Not like that. Here, I'm just going to draw in freehand. I'm trying to use a protractor, but I'll just draw in freehand. There's one line. Let's call it line L. And here's another line. Let's call it line M. Okay, so lines L and M are parallel. We can mark it by using these arrows right here. Parallel. Okay, and we would say that L is parallel to M. So those little, like, it looks like an 11. It's a little bit taller. Means is parallel to. Okay, all right. So L is parallel to M. That's very important. Okay, got to be able to write like that. L is parallel to M. Now, what happens if I draw a line going down through the plane? So watch this. So we'll have a line starting here, going down, intersects L, goes down through the plane, and comes out the other end. Let's call this line N, okay? So N intersects L, so they're not parallel. N does not intersect M. Okay, notice M is on this plane going like this, N is up and down going over here. They don't intersect. However, they're not coplanar, so we can't call them parallel. You know, it's not the normal definition of running side by side, so we would call them skew. So that's why we have this word skew. So what are the skew lines? What's the skew lines? The skew lines in this picture would be lines N and M. So lines M and N. Okay, so those are the skew lines in this picture. Okay, so next let's move on to parallel planes. Okay, so another definition here. Parallel planes. Parallel planes, just like parallel lines, they're planes that do not intersect. And a a picture would just be two planes, and again, I'll do my best to draw freehand. Okay, so here's, we'll call this plane P again. And then what we'll do is we'll draw a plane exactly the same way. Okay, so it has to be sort of slanted exactly the same way. Almost two identical planes. And let's call this plane Q. So we would say that planes Q and P are parallel as well. Okay, so we're going to look at this example I have right here. Okay, I've inserted this picture in here. So we're going to take a look at an example. All right, once I get that positioned perfectly, that's good. Okay, so this example is going to have many parts. Okay, so let's look at part A. Part A says, and if we look at the example, it says, what line is parallel to JN? So you know, we're going to look for a line. So look for a line or a plane. Which line or plane, okay? And we're going to answer the question. For part A, we'll do a couple here, is parallel to line JN and contains H. Okay, so it's parallel to JN and contains H. So if you look on this picture, where is JN? Well, JN is this line right here. Okay. And H is over here. So we're looking for a line that's parallel to JN that goes through H. So if you look, JN is part of this back plane, JNHM. So the parallel line we're looking for is right here. That'd be line HM. Okay, so there'd be your answer. All right, let's look at a second example. Same picture. I'll use a different color so I can write on there. What about a line that is skew? Skew to line JN that contains H and contains H and contains H. Okay, so again, here's JN. We use the same line. And again, we're looking for a line skew. Okay, so here you're looking for two lines that are non-coplanar. So you can't pick HM. HM is parallel. It's on the same plane. So you're looking for a line that does not intersect JN, but is also not on the same plane. Well, there's actually two choices here. Okay, we could pick line GH. GH and JN are never going to intersect. So there is one choice that you could pick. And GN is not on the same plane as JN. GH is not on the same plane. GH is on this top plane, whereas JN is on the back plane. And then you could also have chosen line HK. If you look at line HK, it goes out this way. And it would never intersect JN. Okay, so there's an example. Let's do one more with planes. Okay, I won't go down too far. One more with planes. I'll use yellow. So we want to know name a plane. So which line or plane contains H and is parallel to plane LMN. Okay. All right. So where is LMN? It's this bottom plane right here. So the question is, which plane is also parallel to that? Well, if you look up here, it's going to be the opposite face of this box, which is going to be this top, containing GH or containing H and parallel to LMN. So we can name this plane by any of those three letters that is on the corners, but I'll call it GHJ. Okay? And there's your plane. So This one had two choices. Either one would work. Both contain H. This one, you could have multiple ways, right? You could call it GHK, HJK. Any of those three letters would work. Okay, so I'm going to put another video on that has the second half of 3.1.